Welcome everyone, also from my side. My name is Alex. I'm Customer Success Manager at Workpath, and usually my task is to work on the implementation of OKRs together with our customers. And currently I also work on the implementation of OKRs together with Claudius at Volkswagen. And during one of our discussions, we raised the questions, can OKRs survive on the long run, or will they disappear one day? And I thought this is definitely a good topic to have a knowledge session at the Outcome Summit, because, very interesting. Everyone is talking about OKRs, but no one knows, okay, how does the future look like? And I proposed it to Claudius, come on, let's do a session together. And he was like, yeah, the topic is great, but I don't like sessions where we are in front just sharing our thoughts, doing kind of a keynote style. I guess that topic is more important than just discussing it bilaterally. It's rather a topic where we need everyone involved, more people involved, where everyone can share his experience or her experiences with OKRs and also sharing some best practices, challenges, and also his or her view on how the future of OKR look like. And I said, come on, Claudius. He told me already that he's not joining the session in person, that day in person. And it was like, when we're doing such an open discussion and we have a hybrid setup, you're on the screen, I'm here in the room. I'm not sure if that works out. And at the end, we thought, okay, come on, OKRs is also about taking risk, testing something. And we thought like, okay, we cannot more than fail, and this is the reason why we decided we do that session today. I guess the best thing is now we welcome Claudius, and maybe Claudius, you briefly introduce yourself.
Yeah, first question, can you hear me?
Perfect.
Cool. Well, thanks, Alex, and everybody at Workpath having me. Really appreciate being with you, and my kindest greetings to Munich. I've had the chance to hop in some of your sessions already, and I'm really keen on, well, being the hybrid function on this summit. So welcome to everybody. My name is Claudius Colsman. I'm leading an organizational unit called the Culture and Change Factory at Volkswagen. I'm 54 years old. I'm with the company since 17 years. And our Culture and Change Factory is doing mainly 3 different things, helping other teams, departments at Volkswagen to cope with transformation, which is firstly the consulting concerning change management. The second one is, training, advanced training, further education, mainly on agile work and agile working methods. And the third thing is culture and communication, fostering people in methods, supporting how can we better work together. We're all together 44 people, and it's an innovative unit we created only 2 years ago. You might say, oh, why? In a transformation like Volkswagen is in, how can this only be 2 years old? But it takes time, and that brings me also to OKR. We discuss later in detail our experience. I'm not the strategic guy explaining why Volkswagen should or does implement OKR. I can give you a hint on that. I'm kind of the first users, the first trainers on this. And that's where we met Alex and the people from Workpath, and experiment, doing tests is one of our key aspects while supporting people on changing organizations, teams, mindset. So we are kind of one of the first users of Workpath within the group, and that makes us proud, and of course brings all the questions you've already heard during the day also to us. So Alex, maybe that's good for the first part to give us a short introduction in what my job is, and I can say we are kind of really mindseted people at the Culture and Change Factory. Where maybe to give you a hint, it's part of the HR department, and especially the Volkswagen Group Academy, which is kind of the educational institute at Volkswagen, an internal institute, internal group academy. So usually I don't go out to explain and to talk. I just work and be effective in inside. So we're kind of an in-house helper, in-house agency. So that's maybe helps to describe what I'm doing. If there's more further questions, please be welcome.
Thank you, Claudius. I guess that's fine for the beginning. Before we really dive into some questions and also our leading questions, how or can OKRs survive in the long run, let us briefly recap why we decided that topic. Yeah? If you look at that timeline, you can see over the last 80 years, several agile methodologies have popped up. Yeah? We had Kanban, we had design thinking, Scrum, some type of extreme programming, lean development, scaled agile framework, and for sure, also OKRs. And I would say there are definitely some methodologies where I would say they have reached their peak already. So why can this not happen to OKRs as well? And we want to discuss today if there is a sustainable future of OKRs, and also what is required to make OKRs a success, and to provide them a sustainable future. But before we try to elaborate this, Claudius, maybe you can elaborate a bit better what is the Culture and Change Factory at Volkswagen doing in terms of implementing OKRs?
Yeah, first of all, I can state that when we discovered OKR and the the chances it offers 2 years ago, it's kind of our DNA to say, let's try it. Let's go and see how that can evolve our business and affect our internal clients and help to evolve really an outcome orientation that was very much close to our heart and what we feel and what we think is the right way to go. And then there was a decision by the board of executives to implement OKR, led by the group organization development department. And there was a decision, let's do it. It was not mandatory. So it was just said it could be a good steering instrument for us to cope better with the complexity and the challenges we are facing as a company. And that's why we jumped in and said, okay, innovation, testing, trying a new method that is more related to values, principles, to mindset is exactly what we need, what we feel is the right thing to do. So we started ourselves, our approximately 40 people, to get along with this topic. And we did, of course, we did trainings. We did develop OKR master in our team and say, let's go, let's do the first terms of OKR and let's test it and how does it work. Meanwhile, we are doing the training for OKR for the group. So you can book OKR master training and you can book trainings for executives on OKR. That's one of our core business to offer training for further education on that. So by testing it on our topics and evolving how that works, we have done now 5 or 6 cycles, and we changed also the way to cope with OKR beginning of this year due to our experiences we made. So we kind of first user, innovator, and we are also trainer for the rest of the company to support. And if needed, we also give consulting on OKR.
Perfect. maybe you already said we have changed the way how we work with OKRs. So I guess there was a reason why you changed that, and maybe you can also share with us what happened, why you decided to change the approach a bit, and also maybe what is the effect of it right now?
The first cycles were like in the classical start. We have 3 teams at Culture and Change Factory, and all 3 teams started with their objectives and their key results. And we, as a leading team of 4 people, we evolved moles to give guidance for the development of objectives and key results to the 3 teams. So 3 teams worked like 1.5 years, approximately nearly 2 years, worked on their own, developing their objectives and key results. And then we discovered what was already mentioned during the sessions and panel discussions before. It's a lot of extra work when you start with it. And it came along a discussion about our own strategy, how to go into a better fulfillment of our tasks, of our offers for the company. And we decided we have to do more cross department work. And that's why we decided maybe it's a better idea, instead of having OKRs in the different 3 teams, to have OKRs for our whole unit. So for all 44 people, and detecting topics for the future due to the core meaning of OKRs, do it in a strategic way and keep it away from the daily business. So we tried that. And I think this is a kind of key for a better success. So we are now having objectives all over the whole unit. We developed topics that are future relevant for the company, not only for us, for the customer. And that was also influenced, of course, by the discussion about OKR, to focus more on the customer, more on the needs of our colleagues within the company. And now we have 4 moles related to the really most important topic on development within the company, concerning our work. And we asked our people who is the best to contribute to what mole, and we built mole teams, and they are doing the OKR work now. It changed. And I think the effect is really cool. We are sticking more to our strategic goal to develop solutions for our customers and their need within the transformation. So it gave us a push. Recently, in the last weeks of the old way to do it, we had kind of, how you say, im Sande verlaufen, sagt man in Deutsch. Yeah? So it came to a natural, bore out maybe. So this gave a new push to be together in a group of 40, thinking about the 4 most important pillars we want to derive and to develop, and then say who is willing to work on these 4 moles to develop objectives. And now we closed the first cycle this year, and the effect is even better, because we stick to to topics that are relevant to all of us, and the contribution to these objectives is open to everybody. So not stick to the teams, but to overall strategic goals for our unit. And I think that's a good experiment to change the strategy when testing. Also be able to say, okay, let's do another turn to give it more success, to bring more success.
Thank you. That also means at the end that you cannot stop working on your strategy execution process. So you should continuously improve it, also reflect, sometimes being a bit pragmatic, I guess. And this could also be probably one clear hint for us what you can do to make OKRs a success in the future. But we also want to discuss challenges today and hurdles in the implementation. So you said you not only have implemented OKRs in your own department, but also supporting other departments in the implementation. So maybe you can share also here a bit, what are the challenges you experience, and maybe also what are objections you receive from employees when implementing OKRs?
Yeah, obviously. I mean, we started, and there was the decision by the board to allow OKR as a steering instrument, and of course, if there is no strict rule sent out by the board, it takes time to evolve. So we're now really we have to focus on the departments that within their setting up a new working method come to the point to say, okay, that's a good steering support on outcome that is feasible to help us in a new logic, in a new methodology to work in the future, to cope better with complexity and tasks we have to fulfill. So there is no really big rollout, but there is department after department coming to the conclusion could be a really good thing to use OKRs, and also to use the new technical support Workpath. So I think in the Volkswagen world, it's kind of evolving. We're at the starting point already, and the hurdles I heard when I jumped into the other sessions and discussions before is nearly the same. It's an additional on top work. Yeah, why should we use another technical system? Where to give you a hint, we are integrating Degreed in our learning learning environment. We have a shift to success factors for all our HR works. So we have a lot of integration and implementation of new systems. So everybody says, why now use a different methodology? And so we do it step by step. And that's maybe a hint, and I'd like to know how others do it. We decided to do it step by step, and to help those that are willing, that are accepting, and that have the mindset to work with OKR. And that gives us also the chance to be more concentrated and more focused on the people that start with working with it, instead of having a rollout for 50,000 people only in Wolfsburg. I mean, the large company Volkswagen Group is a first hurdle. If you have a mandatory implementation of OKR, who could deal with that? Who could build up that? We're too small for that. So that gives us the chance to combine advantages of both implementing new thinking, new working methods, and the approach to OKR, and also to using the system, the technical way to align everybody.
Perfect. What I heard is that seeing the effort the implementation of OKRs brings for teams and employees is one thing definitely that is in the heads of people. And what I very often hear from my customers, not only from Volkswagen Group, but also a lot of other customers, is like, okay, why we should now spending so much time for implementing OKRs, for drafting OKRs, for aligning us each other. We can also do that with KPIs. Yeah, we can look for leading KPIs and not for lagging ones, and then we build maybe value driver trees, and then it's done. So we don't need that. Or another one is, come on, we don't have to look at the customer. We don't have to focus on the customer. There are so many other ways how you can focus on the customer. Maybe I hired some people who do customer interviews. I can do surveys online and share the results and so on. Or same with alignment, yeah? Why I need alignment? I can also sit together with my project team and discuss the stuff. So I don't need especially a tool for that, because come on, it's better we are in person in one room discussing what happens and then we are aligned enough. So I also hear a lot of objections towards OKRs. And as you also said, it's about changing the mindset, changing the thinking. And it's hard for people to understand. Do you experience the same? And maybe also for the group, what are other objections you hear from your own organizations, from your own customers?
Let me state on that, Alex, because I think more and more people come to the conviction that the old methodology of working comes to an end, and this is the moment where we cannot not longer stick to old methods we use, and the complexity and the delivery of products has more than one department developing. It is more the stream of work that has to be done, and this conviction is more and more evolved in our company. So departments by department comes to the conclusion it's more efficient to go on. Johannes said this in his opening statement this morning, and more going to autonomy and trust. To give people the power to make the decisions where the knowledge is, and not in steering committees. But that takes time, and that before you think about OKR needs the implementation of mindset and working methods like parts of agile working, changing mindset, self-reflection. That is all the things you need before you start working with OKR, and that's the phase we're in. People come to the conviction old methods no longer might be sufficient. We need new ways of thinking, of working together, to have in shorter times better decisions, to deliver a better product in the end.
Okay, but that also highlights once again that it's about mindset, thinking, behavior, yeah? And I would also state that especially when people have not been in touch with OKRs yet, then this new methodology is scary. They say like, everything we did in the past was wrong, now something new pops up, and as you have seen on the timeline at the beginning, in the past, the same happened again already. So there have been invented methodologies for methodologies. So like many new way of workings, and everyone was now it's the right one. And I guess this is also one reason why we get these objections from people, and why we have to spend an enormous amount of effort in changing that mindset. And I just have one slide for that. From my perspective, the reason for that is also because people are not used to OKRs. So the behavior we have learned from scratch was different. Yeah, I mean, human behavior is shaped by several things: education, have you been educated in the past, your culture, for sure your experiences, yeah, with maybe other methodologies in the past. And you said like, okay, at the end, it is not about the new fancy methodology OKR. It's more about how we can change that behavior that have been established over the last years. And I just have one slide that shows that development of people over the years. So from my perspective, we are really educated to think in outputs. Yeah, I can remember when I was a child, going to school, I always heard from my mother, please learn, please study for your math test. So, and I was like, yeah, I will do. And I sit down in front of my math exercise, run through, and said like, oh yeah, that solution makes sense. After 2 hours, I closed my book, and my mother asked me, and have you learned? And I was like, for sure, I have learned. But my mother never asked me, are you well prepared to pass the math test in order to become a customer success manager at Workpath? So I never heard that. And I would also say, and this is, I know it's an example that is far away, but we are really educated to always think in outputs. Same with, we have decided to buy a new car. So why you want to buy a new car, this is also what Johannes mentioned in the morning. It's about mobility. So I can challenge them, do you need it as a status symbol? So what is the reason? What is behind that? And the outcome for sure could be, there could be a reason behind that is fair enough. And that outcome could be buying a car allows us to be 100% flexible because we want to take care about our kids when they get sick or something like that, yeah? So we just have to better understand what we actually want to do, what we want to achieve, what value we want to create, what the outcome should be. And for sure, same with a statement in the business context, we want to using AI. I would say in all business reports, for all stock listed companies, you always, all of them state, yeah, we want to use AI, AI, AI. But the reason is not all the time described. So why we want to use AI, what we want to do with AI. Is it about we want to automate something, we want to provide a better experience, and this is very important to think about exactly that one. Funny thing is, I also had a discussion with a colleague a few days ago, and in the context we discussed why you want to get a baby. So what is the reason for getting a baby? And I don't get me wrong, I don't want you to make your private life also based on outcomes. Yeah, this is not what I want to do. But I sometimes hear also from friends, yeah, we decided to get a baby, and I'm sometimes wondering, do people also think about the next step? So what does that mean for me? What comes next? So why they want to do that? Do they want to share all their learnings with people? Yeah, all their experiences they made, and they have one person they can educate on that one, all the mistakes they did. Is it about having a safe place in the future? So like, I'm 100% sure the reason why OKRs scare people, because it's so different to what we have learned from scratch. And maybe, Claudius, you can also tell us an example where you realized that output thinking in your organization. And maybe, and I would be very happy when you can also share an example where you have already experienced outcome orientation.
Yeah, good question. Because the thing you need first is the belief that you have to change something. As you can imagine, Volkswagen is very much KPI driven, and it's more on the quantity side and not on the outcome side. We discover output orientation everywhere, but we also discover a shift to more outcome orientation. So I give you small examples. Yeah? We used to count participants on trainings, but the number is nothing. Yeah? We discovered, we trained, I don't know, so many hundred people in doing project management. But is there a perfect project management at Volkswagen? I doubt it. So the number of participants doesn't help us anymore. We need to evolve quality. We need to evolve outcome. Or we count numbers of clicks on an article internally, say, oh, this was a tremendous success, like 8,000 people clicked it. And that also applies to the development of cars. It's more, we're proud of full order books, yeah. But the decisions have been made at some crucial points to more switch on, focus on customer demand, software development, and for the reason of better products. And for us, the outcome orientation. My example could be from the technical development. They are the core people delivering cars, and they announced to I think it was last year, before last year, that they can only handle the complexity of the system engineering work they have to do instead of the parts engineering they did before when changing the method. So they decided to go and to work more agile. We're doing development together, how they can evolve that. But the focus is on the better delivery for the product, the better delivery into the car. So this is the outcome to better get along with customer requirements. So and there has started a big evolvement to realize that. And while doing that, they get along with agile events. They stick on Kanban logic. They turn to Jira or Confluence, and then the next phase, they discover that there's a better handling and a quicker outcome to deliver it. You see, I'm not that into you. You have a certain reflex when talking, and you're used to it. So a better outcome to deliver into the car. So that's the base to then discuss the next question: is OKR the best thing, or is it not? So we are at an early stage, and this is the first. There's different small examples, big examples, or small examples in big departments where you can read that. For instance, we have 15 core group initiatives for the whole group, and they are step by step transferred to an OKR logic. That takes time. So there is a shift, but it takes time. It takes training, convincing people, telling them, taking the time to explain what is the advantage and what's the reason why we should do it like that, and also to show. It was stated earlier, we have to celebrate our success, to show them that it leads to success in a small scale, to then put it to a bigger scale. So there are small examples on that we are on a good track, but it's a long way to go still.
Okay, so you do several things to, at the end, transfer the minds from output to outcome. And if I understood you right, it's for you, OKRs is then just one methodology that helps in making that change or the transformation from outputs to outcomes work.
Yeah, you could say. I mean, the first important base is to change mindset, to work on new principles, to develop new leadership, to have the base to do a bigger rollout for also OKR. I think that's you have to have a timeline that really sticks to a huge company, and implementing by the need you have at a certain point in a certain department is much better than to give it mandatory to the whole company. I think that's crucial to work on it, and to also give guidance to the people and go with them together the next steps, like we did in our small unit. So I think we learned a lot from this. I stated to you when we worked out for this session today. I said honestly, I don't know if OKR exists in 20 years. I don't know. You showed the timeline of the methodologies that were invented. I don't know, but what I really truly believe is that we won't get along without the principles, the values that lie behind or under OKR. We will not cope with the complexity and with our efforts to develop good products if we don't stick to those bases, and if we don't turn to an outcome orientation and a focus on requirements. And you remember, Alex, we did an experiment, we did a session together. It's not long ago, a few weeks ago, where we trained us ourselves to more focus on this customer needs when developing our objectives. I truly believe that we need those values, those principles implemented, starting from the leaders into the companies to get along and to be successful, to get along with the complexity in the future.
I cannot agree more, and I also remember on these conversations on that topic. But I guess this is also something the people listening are interested in. When then your employees or also your colleagues listen to you and listen to people at Volkswagen and they tell them, yeah, it is now about OKRs, it is about that new methodology. And I mean, these objections are fair and these concerns are fair, but how you convince them and what do you tell them to convince them that maybe outcomes, that it's about outcomes and not only about OKRs? So what do you tell them?
I mean, it's a joint development with the leaders of the departments we're working for. When they come to the conclusion that old methods don't longer work, we evaluate and we work out together what is maybe the better way and what is the methods the events we should focus on for the future. What's the kind of our help in the transformation, and then we have people that already used OKR and can not only train, but from their own conviction, tell what is the advantage. And I think apart from the things you mentioned, you have to have testimonials telling how it works and that it works. I think in my experience, it's the best way to get along with the question and to convince also leaders to implement new methods, be it OKR, be it agile work, into their departments. I think that can be a solution, and it's talking, communication, explaining, telling experiences. It's not the key, I can tell you.
Also here, absolutely agree. What is very interesting, also not only at Volkswagen, but because at Volkswagen we're currently working on the implementation in several departments. Yeah, we try to find in every department or every unit the right person that can really be the high-level sponsor to roll out OKRs from top. But we have to find use cases first and convince them. Yeah, and
true.
Without that, it doesn't work out. So I'm not sure who participated in the session this morning about neuroscience and the connection to OKRs. And I realized again there, when you don't have these leaders, you will never change the culture. Because, and then as soon as you have lose or your employees are lost in the process, you will never win them back. And this is the biggest issue, I would say. What are you doing to not losing people? Can you also share something there?
Yeah, I think you have to tell people and involve them that it is a long run, and it will not and better try to do small steps instead of giving you too much burden to implement everything at the same time. I think you mentioned it. You need to convince leaders that this is the right way to go, and then it's a long period of really support for people on different levels to get more and more into details. So it's not the convincing one argument, but I think the most thrilling argument is that we focus more on customer needs and how can we deal with that. Apart from KPIs we define, when we are more customer centricity to the development also on products, how can we work on that? I think that's kind of the key, one of the key questions you have to talk about with people and convince them, and then step by step. Don't do too much at one step. To give them the chance to learn and to find out themselves by their own experience, and then do the next steps.
Also, that fits quite well in what I'm believing in. Our topic today is how can OKRs survive in the long run? And I mean, we have not dived too much into into OKRs and the OKR process itself. Yeah, we rather said like, okay, it's about outcomes, and we have defined outcomes. Sorry, no, it's here, as the measurable value for the customer. Yeah, and I also believe this is what we have to focus on. And when I look at a steering model for strategy execution, yeah, then I said like, okay, we have that middle layer, of outcomes, yeah, that connects really our top-level KPIs that are more describing the financial success of the past very often, or at least the development of the past. And we have that output level, input level, what we have learned from scratch, yeah. We have to fulfill a certain task. And we have to now build that middle layer, yeah? Top-level OKRs as a guidance, and then teams contributing with their OKRs on that. And I would say that model is definitely what will be established in a lot of organizations going forward. But I'm also convinced we don't have to call it OKRs. We just can talk about top-level value creation or lower-level value creation. It's always about value creation and making that value creation measurable. And from my perspective, why we still need an OKR process is, and this is also what we have discussed in several sessions today already, it's about the governance. Yeah? It's about structuring strategy execution. I would say you cannot change a behavior if you have not a structured approach to ensure that value creation, especially at scale in large organizations, yeah? Maybe in a small team that works out, but not in large organizations. And you can see I can get rid of all OKR method terminology here, and I would still say this is a very valuable cycle, and I would say maybe we call it strategy execution cycle going forward and not OKR cycle anymore. But I'm absolutely convinced that focusing on values that are created for the customer will be the thing we need to steer strategy execution. And what I ask myself when I prepared for that session is, OKRs have been implemented in 1970. Yeah? Now we have 2023. Why it took so long that they reached their peak of attention? And for me, after what I heard in the keynote from Eric this morning, it's quite obvious. We are currently in the pace of development is exponential now. And due to that exponential change, yeah, it is definitely required to change the approach we are executing strategy. Yeah, and we have to focus much more on values created for the customer.
I totally agree, Alex. It's the complexity, it's the front loading of more and more topics that leads us to look for new solutions, and more people can be convinced that the way we did it before is no longer feasible.
All right, I get a signal that we are now running over time. I thought we started a bit later. But,
yeah, which is a pity, because we had no chance to involve the audience over there.
Therefore, I would love that we have at least a few questions at the end. Are there questions on the topic? What do you believe? How does the future of OKRs look like? Would you agree? Would you disagree with what we have discussed? Yeah, we have one person. Sorry. Maybe you can briefly keep it short. Yeah.
I try to keep
Sorry.
it short, yeah. So thanks very much. I like that slide a lot where you show that, yeah, it's about strategy execution. And there's a big question in my mind, an open question. There won't be a definitive answer, I guess, but the strategy is created by top management and it's owned by top management and they have to take care of it and they have to focus on it, etc., etc. But what if they don't? Because if OKR lives and dies in the long run is a lot about, does the top management really put the effort in there to keep the focus on the strategy and on the strategy implementation? And if they do it, it will be successful with OKR. It also would be successful with other methods as well, I guess. Yeah, so I'm really looking for the golden bullet here, but how to make sure that the management really is not consumed by the urgency of the day-to-day work, but keeps a significant portion of their attention on the strategy and on the strategy implementation. Yeah, that's like a big question for me, and I'm very open for every suggestion here.
Yeah, maybe one person wanna directly jump on that. Let's keep the discussion running.
Yeah, for me, this is a very good point you mentioned. But I think the biggest mistake is already done when you say strategy is the business of the leadership. No. I think making strategy, developing strategy, is already the first point when the people, the working people, need to be involved much more at the first steps. And then OKRs is one of the strategy execution steps. But if they already understand why things were built up, why they were coming into these strategy discussions, then it will be supported. And then it's not necessarily the driving force from the leadership, then it's more a self-involving driving coming from the people itself, from the company people itself.
True. I would absolutely agree. That's one of the sentences I quote most. It's not only a leadership, because I'm also a leader for a small team, and they tell me it's your work. No, it's not. It's my work and your work. It's our joint work. And it's also, if you transfer it to board level or whatever, it's a joint work. But I would agree on the previous point before. That's the question. I won't give an answer on Volkswagen, but that's the question.
Perfect. Then I guess we close that discussion.